What's happening, y'all? It's Spunk from the AbYss. Today we're talking about the Fnaf 2 movie. Now, the Fnaf 2 movie came out last December 2nd, and a lot of us went to see it opening day. I know the screening I went to was like type empty, so I was like kind of worried. I was like, is this movie gonna be a flop? But then I walked out and I realized I was in the wrong screening. Like I realized the same thing happened to Rye. Like, he went to the wrong screening, and it was just like we were like concerned for a second. But no, the movie did a crazy successful opening weekend. The movie made like over 100 million, so close to what the first one made. The first one made a little bit more, I think, but still crazy numbers. Still crazy numbers, especially for a video game movie and a horror game movie at that. So the movie killed in theaters. Today I just wanted to go over some things that I thought were like interesting about the fans of the franchise and how some of us are divided about the lore from the movies. So I wanted to touch on that today because I feel like some things need to be cleared up a little bit so that we're all on the same page going forward with the movies and stuff. Because understandably, there's a lot of confusion. There's 3 different continuities in this franchise now. There's like the game continuity, the book continuity, and then the movie continuity now. So it's like there's a lot of different things to keep track of, and I don't blame people for being like thinking it's messy or whatever. But today we're gonna get into that. But first, I just wanted to talk about how I've been gone for a little bit. As you guys could tell, thank you for the ones who've been subscribed to me and held on. I just been through a very rough past year. Very rough, and unfortunately I didn't have time. I didn't have the means to record, so I just been away for a while, just going through some personal things in my personal life. Also, as you guys could tell, I've rebranded. I'm now Spunk's AbYss. If you guys didn't know, Spunk is the character that you can see as my profile picture. Spunk the cat. He's loosely inspired by Candy the cat, but with a little twist. Just a character I made with the help of Barbadroid, the artist. I'll have Barbadroid's information right here if you guys want to go check him out. He's a great artist. He made the character for me, and so that's why my name is Spunk's AbYss. I'm back, and I'm ready to make videos for you guys. It's been a crazy year so far with the lore. To end off 2025, we had Secret of the Mimic, and we had the Fnaf 2 movie, which both has some crazy lore drops. Like, I'm talking like crazy, like maybe the craziest we've ever had in the franchise. And yeah, so I'm going to be talking about some of that with you guys. And we're going to be talking about the mysterious sequel game that Scott's talking about on Dako's Life's charity stream. If you guys haven't seen his charity stream, got gone on there like he usually does and donated because, Scott's a great guy. And he teased that there's something in the works. Not a 3, but a 2. So what could that 2 be? We're going to talk about that in another video. So stay tuned, subscribe, keep the bell notifications on if you want to tune into that video because it's going to be interesting because I got some ideas. I have some ideas. Without further ado, let's talk about the Fnaf 2 movie. Now, I got just a couple things I want to mention about the lore. But before I do so, I just want to talk about the general consensus of the movie, the general feedback from the fan base about things from the movie that are lore accurate and not lore accurate to some people. Even though this movie is a completely new story, it's supposed to be inspired by the games, but not exactly one-to-one with the games. So I feel like that's something the fan base didn't maybe understand going into it. But yeah, I feel like, personally, being a fan of the game lore more than even the book lore, I'm okay with the changes they made in the movie. There were some changes like that were a little like out there from like what we know in the game lore, but I didn't think it was nothing too crazy. If anything, I think some of them added to the story, gave more depth to some of the characters. Like in the games, we don't even know much about the characters in general. Like everything's very vague, and a lot of it is just guessing and theorizing because there's very little we know about any of these characters. So I thought they were good changes, and I felt like that was the general feedback too. I felt like a lot of the fans thought this was a fun movie, which it was, and the animatronics, of course, you already know Jim Henson's Creature Shop. They're gonna kill it. They're gonna kill it every time. Look at this, and then look at this. Look at this, and then look at this. And it was a fun movie. Overall, it was a fun movie. There was surprise cameo in there that shocked me personally. Made me like it being a sequel. Obviously, it kind of suffered from being a sequel because there has to be a lot of setup and especially in this franchise, there has to be a lot of setup and a lot of explaining we got to do. Because I personally feel like Scott Cawthon was testing the waters with the first movie. He was just kind of seeing like what he could do, what the general public would think of this franchise, and how would they take the lore. I feel like he was just testing the waters. And now the second movie, he's like, okay, so people are on board. Some people are for the most part liking my story, liking the animatronics, liking everything. So let me start story building. Let me start explaining some characters. Let me start giving some lore. And I feel like that's what he did. I feel like he gave us some lore that's very like shocking to even longtime fans. So I feel like it was a good movie overall. I feel like the first one was a tiny bit better, just a tiny bit. But I feel like the second one is like right there. Like, this is the first one, and this is the second one. It's like, it's not that far off. I really love the second one, too, especially because of the puppet. Like, the puppet in this movie, MVP. Like, besides Freddie Carter, which we'll talk about, too, puppet, man. The puppet was just, like, jaw-dropping in every scene. Every scene. Had some of the creepiest scenes in there, and it was just, overall, it's just phenomenal. Like even they changed the puppet's eyes a little bit. I don't know if you guys peeped that, but they changed the puppet's eyes a little bit. It looks more like sad, more so than like the regular slits. They look a little bit more like. I thought that was a good change, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Overall, I feel like 7 out of 10. Actually, I'm gonna give it 7.5. 7.5 out of 10. Fnaf 2, it delivered. It delivered in a lot of ways I wanted it to deliver. Now we're going to talk about lore. If you guys, for some reason, haven't seen the movie, which it came out last December, so I mean, you guys should have seen it, but now, like, what are you doing? Like, it's out on streaming services. It's about to hit Netflix. If you guys haven't seen it, go see that. It's going to be worth the time. Trust me, especially if you guys are longtime fans. All right, so first thing we're going to talk about with the lore is something like, it's not really a lore change. It's more so like, it's something more like, I just feel like us as a community, the fandom, we have a lot of headcanon. Like, there's a lot of things in this franchise that we make headcanon. Like, we believe it so much to the point where, like, we choose not to believe anything else besides what we think. Like, I feel like that tends to happen a lot in this franchise. Like, the DCI specifically. Like, some people believe in the DCI. Some people believe there wasn't a DCI. Something that, some people just refuse to believe it. Some people believe it and won't believe that it didn't happen. So, like, there's a lot of things that people are just like, yep, this is canon. This is what happened. And if Scott says otherwise, then he's a horrible writer. Like, and I feel like people did that with this movie. People low-key were, like, assuming that they were right about the lore. Because let's keep in mind, guys, there's a lot of things that we might not even know at all. Like, we might be completely off with some of our assumptions. Like, some of our theories might be way off, like way off. Like, for example, like, it's revealed to us in this movie that the toys could potentially have been spring locks. The toys may have been spring locks in the FNAF 2 game. And we really have no evidence to say that wasn't the case. If anything, we have more evidence proving that was the case. And you can call it evidence, you can call it not evidence, but the screenshot in FNAF 2, the prize corner, when we see the Endo O2 next to the prize corner in that one very rare moment we get with Endo O2 in the prize corner, some people think it looks like Springtrap Endo. It's kind of close. I mean, the legs, the arms, that whole, it looks close, but that's loose. That's very, like, that's type weak evidence. Like, to be honest, that's type weak evidence. But still, I mean, there's things in this movie that I feel like people are quick to say that didn't happen. Like, why would he make that change? Like, that is completely off. But who knows, man? Who knows? We could have been wrong from the jump. We could have been wrong. So that's just something I wanted to get out there, because I feel like there's some things, especially with the movies, I feel like Scott's trying to point us in the right direction. Like, I feel like he's like, all right, you guys are going a little bit too far off with this, and let me just clear this up a little bit for you guys. And he's gonna do it, like, we know Scott. He's not gonna make it obvious. He's gonna do it subtly. We have to use some of our brain meats to, figure out what he means by certain things, because he doesn't make it. Scott never makes things clear. There's very little. There's only a very few things that he makes specifically clear in this throughout the whole 10 years of FNAF, which is crazy. Like, the only thing we know for sure is that Henry exists in this franchise. We don't even know when he's around and when he's not. He could be in jail. He could have got framed. We don't even know what he did throughout the franchise. We just know he exists. We know, obviously, William's kids. We know they died by his creations. We know William is a nuthead. He kills kids without any reason, apparently. He just is a kid killer. Is it vengeance? Is it jealousy? Like we don't know. We really don't know. But like I said, there's very little confirmed. Very little. Some of the lore changes in this movie I feel like were reasonable. Anyways, we're gonna get into the first lore change that I feel like is significant. Is the fact that Charlotte dies in 1982. In the beginning of the movie, they specifically give the date 1982. And then we go on to see Charlotte go into the kitchen area, where Charlotte sees Spring Bonnie lure a kid into the kitchen. She follows him, manages to get into the kitchen, but right before she does, she gets stopped by Vanessa, and Vanessa tells her, Charlotte, don't. Something along the lines of, don't. Charlotte, don't. Which tells me immediately that Vanessa knows what her father is doing. He knows somewhat about the fishy things that are going on in her family life. So that's already tea right there. That's already something that we had no idea. We had no idea this Vanessa, potentially Vanny character, knew what Afton was doing since the early days. Like that's already kind of crazy if you think about it. But anyways, yeah, it's revealed to us that Charlotte dies while running away from Spring Bonnie, and she gets stabbed a couple times. After she saves a kid from being killed himself, she gets stabbed a couple times in the back. She goes onto the stage, screams out of anger and frustration, and falls to the ground. Then we see the puppet come from the underground underneath the stage, come up, and carries Charlotte in his hands, which I thought was a dope scene. I thought that was a visually stunning scene. So that was that. That's one thing. But yeah, so Charlotte dies in 1982. Now, in the games, we always thought she died in 1983. However, I feel like 1982 isn't a far stretch. She could have died in 1982. That's a little change. I mean, it's a minor change, but you know, year difference. I don't know. In the games, a lot could happen in a year. So I don't know. Did Charlotte actually die in 1982, or is it really 1983 in the games? Did Scott change that? Who knows? Who knows? All right. The second lore change I want to talk about is the fact that there's the toy animatronics and the Wizards aren't possessed. They aren't possessed during the scenes in the Fnaf 2 movie, and it's confirmed by Vanessa herself. Vanessa says the only animatronic that's possessed in the Fnaf 2 location is the puppet. And the puppet is controlling all the animatronics. She's controlling all of them. So we always assume that the toy animatronics and the Wizards were possessed in some capacity. And I mean, we mainly thought this because of the phone calls and the fact that the toy animatronics start to bug out a little bit and they start to get aggressive towards staff and this and that. And the Wizards we always assumed were, partly had some soul possessed by the original MCI victims, because we know that they used some of the Wizards parts to make the toys. Something borrowed, something new. So we know the Wizards were used to create the originals and these other animatronics. So I guess we assume that maybe the souls would be carried over as well. Who knows? Maybe the toys won't possess. It's interesting thinking about what Scott actually changed and what he kept the same for the movies. It's interesting. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the toys were possessed in the games, or were they not? I personally feel like the toys not being possessed, I'm not mad at that. I feel like the puppet controlling everything and pulling the strings, I feel like that's kind of a dope idea. And that might have been a possibility we never even thought of until now. Which is why I feel like the movies are a great way to clear a lot of things up for us. Because like things like this, like Marionette pulling all the strings makes kind of sense. It kind of makes sense. Third lore change, which is kind of, I talked about this already, but Charlotte's death obviously is different in the movies. In the game, she gets killed in an alleyway, and the puppet then goes outside of the pizzeria to go find her and ends up possessing her on the ground. right there in the rain. So we know obviously that's different than the games. Good lore change or bad lore change? I feel like it's a good lore change. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. I feel like Charlotte dying on the stage and the puppet carrying her in its arms, I feel like is more cinematic than William Afton just killing her in the back alley. And then the puppet just falls on her. Like, I don't know. I feel like Charlotte dying on the stage and getting carried by the puppet was a good change. I feel like that was a... there was part of it that I felt like was like, all right. I felt like one of the parents would have listened to her in real life, but at the same time, like, some parents are dismissive about things, so I don't know. But I feel like it was a good lore change. I feel like it was a good one. Fourth lore change I want to talk about kind of follows up with the second one I talked about, which is the toys being controlled by the puppet and them being able to leave the pizzeria, which is something that in the games we know for 100% fact that the animatronics do not leave the pizzeria. Kind of same thing like the movie. They're not allowed to leave because their systems would fail if they were to leave. The pizzeria literally doesn't allow them to leave. But we know in the movies the puppet kind of makes Vanessa change that, and she basically forces and changes everything so that they're able to leave, which is the change I'm talking about here. Like they actually leave the pizzeria, they go attempt to kill a couple parents, and obviously they fail. But we see Freddy and Fall Fest. Bonnie is at a house. Chica goes to the robotics science fair, and Mango goes for Vanessa. So we see them leave the pizzeria in this one. Is that a good change or a bad change? That's something I've been conflicted on personally. Like, I don't know if I like the animatronics being able to leave the pizzeria, just because it makes a lot of things messy. Like, it makes the animatronics also seem a little bit less scary. Maybe it was just the way that they appeared in the movie, like outside the pizzeria. But I don't know. It kind of makes them seem a little bit less scary. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys like the fact that they were able to leave the pizzeria? I don't know. I feel like the puppet being able to leave is a dope thing. I feel like that works. But animatronics. But then again, they're not even out the pizzeria for that long. They're out there for maybe like an hour or two, and then they get destroyed by the OG animatronics. So it's not a big deal either way, but big change regardless. All right, the fifth thing I want to talk about here is the fact that the puppet can possess humans. Now that's a big lore change as well. Like the puppet is not able to possess the human body itself in the games. Like, we know the soul of Charlotte goes to possess the puppet, but the puppet never possesses a human in the game lore. So that was a crazy change. But it worked. Like, some of the scariest scenes in the movie were the marionette as a human possessing the human. They have like these tear marks on their face. They even have the rosy cheeks. They get like the whole face design of the puppet, but it's like human form. It was on some Conjuring type stuff. Like, it was pretty dope. Like, it was not to say that it was like copying the Conjuring, but like nah, it was its own thing, which I love. The puppet possessing humans in this movie was phenomenal. Like, that was amazing. Like, the AbYss, she did great. Abby did great. Lisa, the character Lisa, she did great as the puppet. And then we don't know much about Vanessa as the puppet because it was revealed to us at the end. But still, I have a feeling Vanessa's gonna kill it too. So yeah, it was crazy to see, and it was just the scariest scene I think in the movie. Yeah, I just feel like that whole sequence with Lisa going after Michael, and it was just phenomenal. Like, I thought that was the scariest part. So. Is it a good lore change? Yes, absolutely. I feel like that's something that makes the franchise seem more horror-ish. Like, it makes the franchise feel more like based horror, like original horror, like Michael Myers, like that type of like outside of indie. Like, it brings it back to like original horror roots. I feel like. I don't know. That's my opinion. I feel like that was a good change. And, I hope we see more of the puppet, though. Like, I hope it's not always humans as the puppet. Like, I want to see the marionette. Like, the marionette's design is my favorite. The puppet is my favorite character in FNAF. So, I hope we see more of the puppet itself. And I think we will. So, last two things I want to talk about. This isn't necessarily a lore change. This is just big reveals in the movie. So in the movie we find out that Mike Schmidt isn't, well, we knew this already, but we find out that there's two Michaels two Michaels. Now it could be that way in the game lore as well, because we see there's a Mike Schmidt that's at one point in time a security guard at Freddy's Burst Pizza, and then we know obviously that there's Michael Afton, which is William's son, actual son. Yeah, but it's revealed to us that Michael Afton is still William's son, and he's out there, and it looks like he's accurate to the game lore. And a lot of people assume that Michael Afton was a good guy always, which I don't think was the case. I feel like Michael was a villain at some point in the game lore. Like, he was working with his father. He goes down into the sister location to help his father put Elizabeth back together. So at one point we know he's working for William. I just feel like after Michael finds out the extent that William goes to and the dramatic crazy things that he's done makes Michael like, all right, no, like, enlightens him, and he turns into a good guy, obviously, because we know in FFPS Michael eventually teams up with Henry to set everything on fire and end everything. So he is a good guy, but I feel like he was also a villain at some point, which they portray him in this movie to be that. And I feel like Freddie Carter did an amazing job. They could not have done better with his character. Like, he was an amazing pick. So they did a good job with that. I'm interested to see more of his character. I hope he gets a redemption arc as well. I know a lot of people have been saying that he deserves a redemption arc. We need to relate to him more, because at the end of the day, like, Michael Afton is one of the most unique characters in the whole franchise, because besides William, like, he does the most. Like, we know William does all these things, right? 1983, 1985, the MCI, the DCI. We know kind of what William does somewhat throughout the franchise. And besides him, Michael. That's the only other character we know a lot about. So it's cool to see him. And I hope we connect with him more as an audience in the movies, because we should. He's an important character. I love what they did with Michael, and I'm excited to see more in the Fnaf 3 movie. I'm just really hyped. I feel like they did a perfect job with that. So good job, Scott. All right, last thing I want to talk about, obviously, is the elephant in the room. We all gasped. We all lost our shit when we saw this character, and that is Circus Baby. Right, Circus Baby appears in the attic during the flashback scene, the dream sequence that Vanessa has in this movie. She, obviously has trauma from what her father did to her throughout the years of her life. So Mike convinces her to face him in her dreams, and she does. And we see a flashback of her go to the attic, which is, I guess, Afton's workshop. And we see some blueprints. We see the toy animatronic blueprints. We even see the OG animatronic blueprints. I'm pretty sure, like Freddy Fazbear, like the OG Freddy, like this Freddy. We see him, like, the blueprint. So does that mean Afton created, or at least created, the blueprints for the animatronics? Maybe Henry still created them, but William created the blueprints, so just the general structure of them. Who knows? But at the end of the day, they were in Michael's workshop. I mean, they were in William's workshop at the end of the day. So, but yeah, we see Vanessa fall down in the attic. She turns this way. She turns to the side, and she sees Circus Baby. Like, Circus Baby is just there. Like, a lot of us didn't even know she was created by Jim Henson's Creature Shop. Like, we had no idea Circus Baby was even created. So to see her in the movie was, like, mind-blowing to me. Like, mind-blowing. One of my favorite parts. Because Sister Location is personally my favorite FNAF game. Like, I love the fun times. I love that whole storyline. So to see Circus Baby was a wonderful moment. But that goes to show you that the fun times might have been here since the early days. Like, I'm talking like 1982. Like, which I always partly thought that at least Circus Baby and the fun times were partly created because of Cece's death. I personally feel like Cece's death is what made William experiment in the first place, because we know he says, I will put you back together. And, I don't know if you guys believe in God, David, or not, but a lot of things could have happened with Cece after he died. But I still feel like either way, William knows there's something to be experimented. There's something to be done. there's something to find more about. There's something to find out more about, right? Like we know William says, I will put you back together, meaning he knows that's possible. And we see in this movie that in her flashback, in her dream sequence, Vanessa seems to be the same age that she was when Charlotte died. So we know it was around the same years, and Circus Baby was already a real thing. And not only was she a real thing, but Circus Baby literally gives her the side eye. She gives Vanessa the side eye, and her eye color changes color, which is something that's big in the game lore. We know that Baby was originally had blue eyes, and then once Vanessa possessed her, her eyes turned green. Some people think that it didn't turn green. It was just like a lighting thing or something like that. But I don't know. She was definitely possessed. She was definitely possessed during that dream sequence. So did Elizabeth die first, or in this universe, or did Cece still die first? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. But we know at least that the fun times, even potentially the bunker was created in the early days, like 1982. 1983. Maybe that's the case for the game lore too. That makes sense. It would make sense. We know the fun times were created early on. We already know that because in the Fnaf 2 they mentioned a sister location. In the Fnaf 3 they mentioned a sister location. We know the Save Them mini games that, Williams taking apart the animatronics to experiment. So, and that was 1985. The Fnaf 2 was open. So I don't know. It's definitely obvious that the fun times were created early on. So that was just confirms even more that the fun times were here since the early days. So it's kind of crazy. And I feel like Scott's already said, he's already said on, I don't know if it was the Cherry stream or where he said it, but he said already that he would love to make a sister location movie. So I'm hyped for that. I'm hyped as hell for that because that's my favorite game. So I'm hyped. I feel like the fun times could be showed more in the franchise. Like we only see them one time in the sister location game. Like I feel like their designs are beautiful. Like sci-fi, futuristic, like it was just different, and it didn't even make sense to me why they were created so early on, just because of the fact that they're so modern, they're so futuristic. Like it's just crazy to think that, all right, the OG animatronics were built, the toys were built, like the toys, I guess, yeah, they look a little bit more sleek and they look a little bit more modern, but like the fun times, that looks like something that would be created in like 2025, like now. Like anyway, yeah, I feel like the fun times could be shown a lot more. That era of FNAF was so good. So I'm excited to see that. We'll definitely see the location again, like that's for sure. They might even show some of FNAF 4 if they make sister location movie. They're probably gonna show a flashback of FNAF 4, like a little bit of FNAF 4. So we'll see. I have a feeling Scott's going that direction because I don't think he's gonna make the fourth movie just based on the fourth game. Like I don't see him doing that. Either way, we'll find out. We'll find out in the years to come. Yeah, that's about all it for this video. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Spunk's AbYss. I'm gonna be uploading every week. Is what I plan to do. Theories, all that. Plan on doing a podcast at some point. But that's very early stages right now. But yeah, I just wanted to talk to you guys about FNAF 2 because it's something big that's happened since I last made a video on this channel. So I also wore this shirt to the movie. I don't know if you guys, I wore this Balloon Boy shirt. I wore a Marionette sweater, like a whole Bonnie beanie and everything. I'll show a little picture right here if you guys want to see. But yeah, I had a blast. Like I always love these movies. It's like a convention for fans. Like, and you don't even have to have the money. All you have to have is just a ticket, and we all get to experience something incredible and find out more about this franchise together, which I think is amazing. So I will definitely be creating more theories and releasing some theories about the movies specifically and the games. And I don't know much about the book lore, but I know enough. I'm gonna do more reading up on it. So we're gonna be talking about everything on the channel. Hopefully I can be on a GT Live or something like that. But that's just wishful thinking for now. Hopefully one day. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please leave it a like. That'll help me out a lot as I am an early on channel, so appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on that bell because you're going to want to see the next videos that are to come because there will be some bangers. So until then, this has been Spunk's AbYss. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.